if you are in that quiet right now, just remember there are so many moms with you in that same moment or have been. I know we've both been there. But, find those small things that help bring joy, bring a little peace, just a little less loneliness. It's not gonna be perfect, but yeah, you got this. We're rooting for you.
I think take care of yourself. If you can get out of the house, get out of the house. If you're like me with your firstborn and that terrifies you, then don't. Welcome back. I'm Hav.
And I'm Aaliyah.
And we wanted to talk about coming home after birth and how it can be such a wild experience. For most of us, you'll have all those texts, you'll have visitors, so much excitement. And then usually comes lots of silence and long stretches of time, especially where you might just be alone with you and baby. It can feel really lonely during postpartum, even if you aren't alone, even if it's not silent. So we wanted to kind of talk about that and what it was like. I know Aaliyah and I have similar but also very different experiences with this, but I know it was something that like I would have loved to know more about.
Yeah, I know it was definitely something I wasn't prepared for. And obviously, I mean, like I was so before giving birth, I was just so nervous about being able to take care of a baby. I didn't think about how I would feel after having the baby. And that's like really why, we wanted to talk about this just because for me it was actually really hard to adjust to this like kind of new reality. Like
Yeah.
and if this is something new to you and you're experiencing it, like, it can just feel really isolating. Like and that's how I felt. Like, I remember it was so quiet and it can feel really heavy and we've talked about it before, but it's like all of a sudden, all these days blur together. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing over and over and over again. You don't have a ton of adult conversations. Like, you're kinda just, like, with this baby and that's it, especially if your partner does go to work or maybe you don't have a partner, things like that. And I also really struggled with, like, feeling stuck in one spot, like, whether it was feeding or holding or sleeping or whatever, and it wasn't bad. It was just there was so much of an adjustment both with those things, but then also, as we've talked about before, having kind of, like, that identity shift, like, it was also hard because my whole entire life changed. So, my whole entire life changed, and then I had all these new feelings, and yeah, it was really crazy how isolating it felt. I know you've kind of experienced it as well, so, yeah, I'm curious what
Well,
your
I
thoughts
think
are.
I would say too, like maybe it was just me, but like I heard a lot about postpartum depression and
Mhm.
anxiety and stuff. And I still didn't really think I mean, like, looking back on it, it definitely took a part in it, but I honestly think that, like, there's so much that we're just like, "Oh, it's hormones." But I think there's a lot of it is, like, what Aaliyah just said is, like, it's an identity shift, it's all these things. If your partner's going back to work my partner didn't go back to work, but he was taking care of all of the things around the house, and I was still on the couch with the baby, doing all these things. We did, like, lots of TV time and stuff, and, like, it was great, but I remember literally feeling stuck to the couch, like, it felt like I was, like, unable to move away from the couch and do anything. Part of it, I think, was first baby. We literally didn't leave the house with her for, like, the first 2 months. I wouldn't say silence was necessarily an issue in my house. But that doesn't mean that I didn't, like, feel alone. I think a
Mhm.
lot of it and then you're internalizing a lot of things because, like we've talked about probably in every episode, mom guilt, honestly, at least for me, started right away.
Oh,
Whether
100.
it's I'm not doing enough or I'm doing too much
Mhm.
or I mean, for me at the beginning, it was the nursing and the sleeping and the schedules and then not putting her down enough or not holding her enough or whatever the case was. And then for my partner, it was well, I can't do anything sitting here with you, so I'm gonna go take care of all the other stuff. Whereas, like, in my head, I'm like, it's not fair of me to be upset that you're up doing stuff, taking care of the house like you should be, but like, just sit with me kind of thing. And like Aaliyah said, it's very isolating, especially if you don't have a lot of those adult conversations. I know we talked about like I feel like for like the first 2 years, I was like, I literally am just talking to myself all day. Even with work, even with husband, like and I know you and I live more isolated from our friends, so it might it can be a little bit harder, but it's not like I didn't have friends, like, calling or, like, coming to visit every once in a while and stuff, but, yeah, I remember that being just, like, so difficult, just being like and even when I did wanna talk to friends, I was like, "What do I talk about?" Because all I know is I'm tired and baby needs to nurse, and the shows that I'm watching, I'm not really watching them, so we can't even talk about that. And I think it's gonna be different with this baby, which is kinda nerve-wracking because, like, I'm like, I don't know how to prep for that.
Right.
But
I agree. I think it will be a little different. Just one, because you do leave a lot,
yeah,
and I think that might help. But I'm also like, is that going to cause new
well, that depends.
overstimulating yeah, right. So it's just funny. You're like, am I trading loneliness for
Or, like, over like, well, and with a toddler running around, again,
Mhm.
is it gonna be, "Oh, toddler baby 24/7?" And, like, then not only is my mom guilt about, like hopefully my mom guilt about, like, nursing and like, putting baby down or picking baby up, like, I've already think I've come to the conclusion, like, that stuff does not matter. As long as I'm happy, he's happy, whatever. But more so, like, am I doing enough for Azzy? Am I doing it, which I think our last episode with Dr. Kim has already kind of started a mindset shift for that, which is helpful. If you haven't listened, go listen, check our book. But I think, like, that is one thing for me. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be running around more. I plan on utilizing Tony for kids more. I've already talked to him about wanting him just to sit with me more, but also, like, there's even less time to just sit with me because we have a toddler and 2 dogs and a house and all these things. So, as you can see, I'm already spiraling. I'm like, "Ooh, don't know."
as you were saying that, when you were talking about mom guilt with a partner, I'm like, it's funny that as moms and parents, we don't think we're ever doing enough. Like, I like how we think like, "Oh, well, we're sitting here taking care of the baby. We're not doing anything." And I'm like, "That's not true." But it's funny how we don't take like, we're like, "Well, we should be helping them clean the house." Like,
Yeah.
I feel guilty for sitting here, but I'm like, "You are still contributing to the family and doing something." But it's funny how
Yeah.
as a mindset, we don't feel like we are, because that's where I definitely struggled sometimes. It's like Ty was doing something and I'm like, "Well, I wanna help you, but I can't." So then you feel like you're lazy and not helpful, but I'm like, "Wait, I am doing something." It's
Or
just
I want you to just sit with me, but then I'm gonna be mad that you're just sitting with me because, like, you don't have to sit with me. I remember also feeling like a horrible wife, like, I didn't have the mental capacity to, like, be the partner that I'm, like, used to being and, like, being there for him mentally, even though I also needed, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that added so much of, like, am I even the wife that you, like, thought you were getting? Because there's, like, my whole mind I mean, our brains literally shift to baby, but I remember that being really hard. And honestly, it didn't get better until I started being able to gain more independence for myself and then start, like, taking on a mental load of a partner again, and now I can look back on it and be like, "Girl, that's crazy of you to even worry about that because, like, your mental was so not okay. You had no right to be worried about somebody else's."
I do think the lack of sleep and being lonely makes us sit in our feelings more.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like I was more like, I think we've talked about it, but I was so, like, sad. Not, like, depressed, but just, like, overwhelmed the first year, and now I look back and I'm like, maybe it was because I was also really tired, and, like, that was weighing me down, and then I was like, and then I'm adding, like, sitting there just, like, festering in my thoughts, and I'm like, "And now that's sitting there." So, I do think that can definitely play a role, especially, the late nights. Like, you are deep in your thoughts and feelings, it's dark, like, I know for me, like, I would just be sitting like, when Dash was really little, I would go into our downstairs living room, and it's a pretty big room, and it's just, like, empty and dark, and we had just renovated it, so there's, like, no wall art, nothing, and you're just, like, kinda watching the clock while everyone else is sleeping, and, like, you're listening to the sounds outside, and I don't know, that part was pretty hard for me just because it felt very isolating.
I totally agree, and I know from us well, I know Ty has, like, crazy mornings and stuff.
Yeah.
With Tony, he still has early mornings and stuff, but I just his aren't as bad, like, he doesn't have a manual labor job, like, I totally could have been like, "I'm getting up in the middle of the night, you're getting up," but then also I'm like, "You can't do it." Like, one of us should be rested, and I remember him being like, "Just wake me up," and I'm like but then there's also that, like, why am I waking him up? Like
I will say too, Ty did get up with him when he was home, but once he went back to work, he just went back to work way sooner than Tony, so I felt
yeah.
it just happened so much faster.
Well, and that was the thing too, is when Tony was home, he
Mhm.
was doing night shifts,
Right.
which were amazing for, like, my sleep at the time. That wasn't giving us time together. He was up with the baby till, like, 4 or 5 in the morning, pretty much as long as he could go without falling asleep, and then he would bring her to me, and then he would crash until, like, noon.
That is an excellent point, though, is I know people talk about being hard on a relationship, but it really can be hard, especially if you are doing shifts because you're like ships passing through the night, you don't
Literally.
really interact and it's kind of just about survival for everybody. Yeah.
And I would say that was, like, a little bit probably a little bit easier on us because we started dating so young that we had those, like, work lives where we, like, literally never see each other and stuff like that. So, like, thankfully, there was never that, like, "Oh god, we're gonna like, we don't wanna be around anymore." But I think if you are especially a couple who is used to, like, your free time is together, like, that might be something to mentally prepare for and to talk about for sure.
Yeah, because I agree. I didn't feel like our relationship wasn't strong still. I just felt like we were missing each other, you
Yeah,
know? It's like
well,
and that's something, yeah, to think about. And, I mean, it's not really on this episode, but, that's those moments that if you are missing those, maybe you slip in after baby gets here, even just like lunch together. It doesn't even have to be date night because sometimes that's not feasible. But speaking of things that helped us, I think that kind of leads us into just like some fixes on if you are kind of dealing with this loneliness and stuff, it can be really hard. One thing that really helped me, I would say texting a person, but even more than that is audio messaging. Hav and I regularly send audio message. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up just to show you guys.
literally constantly.
Like
It's still
we
I
both
don't think it's ever gonna stop.
like it's just audios. And that's what you should do too. I highly recommend it. It's so nice. It's like you can rant. You might not respond for a few days, but it's like you're able to get it out.
I think at one point we were texting, audio messaging, and messaging each other on Instagram. Like, just, like but it honestly it has been and is so nice because, 1, you can save the audio messages and listen to them later. You can not listen to them and come back to them and, like, have we do that all the time. We'll have, like, long text conversations, and then I know I mark your messages as unread so that I'm
Right.
like, "Oh, yeah, I just need to go find where we were at." And we break up a lot of our audio message into, like, segments of, like, different conversations, so we're not, like, having to listen to sometimes our messages are, like, 7 minutes, but
But we have a lot of things to say.
yeah, but no, I think that seriously was such a lifesaver, is still, and I think it
Mhm.
will be again. But I remember, and this was 4 years ago for me. I literally remember being like, "I don't know what I would do if I didn't have Aaliyah." Like, it was and then I remember when you were pregnant, I was like,
Mhm.
"You better
I was
use me like I used you." Like
and I did.
yeah, and it's honestly so helpful, and it doesn't have to be a friend with a kid. Like, Aaliyah was not pregnant, she wasn't thinking about being pregnant. It was just somebody that was like, "I just need to vent." Like, I just need somebody to listen.
And, like, let's be very clear, I was, like, very on the opposite spectrum of having children.
Yeah.
So, like, at the time, Hob was pregnant. So,
Like,
like
literally the opposite of thinking about having children.
and so and we still had a great chat, like, great time and stuff. And I think yeah, and the conversations helped, and then to me that it kinda plays into having something to look forward to. So for me, it
Mhm.
was, like, whether that was our messages, whether that was, like, I know or, like, I sometimes would go get coffee and donuts, or we'd just get outside, like, having small things that kinda help break up the routine and stuff because, like, especially, like, your deep postpartum, say 3 months, I'm like, you're gonna feel like you're feeding, sleeping, they're pooping. That's like, it's just like and it's like every 2 hours it feels like it can be a lot. So helping break it up, I think really, really
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah. I mean, and I think you gotta give a big shout out to, like, having friends that care about you mentally and not necessarily
Mhm.
where you're at in life and, like, having, like, differences, but just, like, being there to, like, listen. I would also throw in our new crime documentary club that we do, which, like, that was honestly that's new for us, but on our own time, watching the same crime documentary. It could be Love is Blind for all I care, but, like, maybe having somebody that you can go and talk to about stuff, it definitely helps separate my, like, Azzy baby Tony dogs, like, okay, like, I can go and we can talk about something that's, like, outside of craziness in life.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think it is true. It allows us to have something that's not just children, husband, that, like we
Yeah.
do use our messages a lot to rant or talk or chat about, daily life. And the documentary, like Hav and I, we watch like one a week or something, but it really helps break it up. We're talking about something totally different, something we both enjoy that's like not a hobby, but that
Yeah.
isn't related to anything Like, it makes us feel like individuals again.
Yeah, and it encourages us to do something other than laundry, whatever. Like, the talking is really important too, but it just is like, okay, like, so I remember before I was like, "I don't have time to watch a documentary," and I was like, "You know what? Let's do it." And we've watched, like, what, 4?
Yeah, 4 or
5?
5. And I think too, it can be really good to have that background noise. Maybe you don't wanna watch TV, but even if it's a podcast or music, that can also help break
Yeah.
up the silence. So, I also like the documentaries just because it feels a little educational, but it's kind of breaking up my day to not just be, like, staring at the wall.
I'm glad you said, like, the music or the podcast. I know when Azzy was a newborn, especially when you're, like, trying to decide about, like I mean, newborns too, obviously, but, like, trying to decide about how much TV you want going on in the background, stuff like that. When we weren't like, when I wasn't, like, couch potato watching TV, we were like, I was trying to interact with her, I always had music on. I know some people aren't, like, super music people. I have been my whole life. Again, just like another dopamine thing, like, play that music, and it's same when they get into toddler stage, like, have dance parties, stuff like that, just, like, have on some good music, and sometimes that, like, music will change your, like, mindset. Like, I know sometimes I'd be so sad and I'd just, like, put on a fun song. Just, like, put on something fun, and you can still dance with your baby. They don't have to be able to move, you can shimmy them around, but I think stuff like that is really important.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good for them too. I know I think you watched the Colors show a lot. Is that what it's
Yes.
called? I did
Colors.
that a lot, and I also like if you go on YouTube and you just type, like, ambiance, like, right now I did,
Mhm.
like, spring ambiance. I like to also just put on, like, those, so it's just music, but, like, a little background, like, even if it's just, like, a picture, just 'cause it kinda helps liven it up a little bit, and I do love the dance parties. I definitely did some when Dash was really little. Also, just for myself, sometimes you need just something that makes you smile because it's hard when you're feel like nothing's working.
It's so true. Literally, and sometimes that is how it's gonna feel, and sometimes you'll just wanna sit on the couch and do nothing. But, yeah, I think those are the times when I would encourage a voice memo to a friend who cares, turning on music, running a show in the background. If you can, showering was really hard for me. I was really stressed, but I feel like, if you can shower they make, like, they make wraps now that you can, like, put baby in while you shower, like, on you, like baby wraps.
Interesting.
And then the best the honestly, I think the most shifting for baby and parent mom is going outside. Literally just stepping I think at one point I was drinking my coffee outside every day. There was one time I didn't have a lot of nipple confusion with her. There was one time she wouldn't nurse, and I started freaking out, and I was like, "Oh my god, she's not gonna eat, like, all this stuff." Like, I was just like, "What am I gonna do?" And she was older. It was fine. Like, it wasn't but, like, I went outside, and she literally took the nipple. Like, she was like, "'Kay." I think going outside is like, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know sometimes it's cold and stuff, but honestly, sometimes that, like, burst like, bundle up real quick, get that burst of, like, cold air if this is happening during winter. I guess I'm not thinking about the other side. It's gonna be muggy for me here, but
Yeah, it can still help, even if it's 5 minutes, like, even if it's just you stepping outside, like, especially if, like, everyone's having a rough moment, put the baby I think we mentioned it with Dr. Kim, have them in a safe space and just take some time for your even if it's 2 minutes, just to, like, reset. Sometimes you just need to take that breath, reset. It can help tremendously. I wish I had that audio message because I'm pretty sure there was one time when Hob was like, "Go outside," and I was like, "I
No,
need
there
to."
was I remember. You were like, "I don't know what to do," and I was like, "Walk outside.
And I
Take
was like, "You're
Dash
right,
and
you're
walk
right."
outside." Yeah. I think I actually speaking of 2 episodes ago, we talked about, like, drop zones for, like, house stuff and for baby. I had a bouncer that I left outside for her.
Oh,
So we would
yeah.
go outside and I put her in her bouncer and I'd sit there and I'd drink my coffee and she'd bounce on her bouncer.
Wow, I love that idea. Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, I think that actually kinda ties into yeah, you're right, like 2 episodes ago with ease. Anything you can do to make your life easier. You're not gonna wanna carry a bouncer around to every room. If you happen to and I know they're expensive, so look at yard sales, look at Goodwills, look at Facebook Marketplace, even post like I know in our local groups, people ask like, "Hey, does anyone have this they're getting rid of?" So, because yeah,
Little
anything to make
the
your life easier.
$25 Fisher Price ones
Worth
honestly are
it.
great. I think that one that was outside, our neighbor across the street, they're so old and so cute. He actually brought it over and he was like, "Do you want this?" And I was like at first I was like, "No." And I was like, "Let me just leave it outside," and it actually was, like, a huge game changer.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely something to think about, especially if you're dealing with a lot because it can be Like, you
Yeah.
already have so much going on postpartum, and then you don't wanna add all of that. So, back to the loneliness, if you are in that quiet right now, just remember there are so many moms with you in that same moment or have been. I know we've both been there. Hob's honestly about to be there again. Yay! But, find those small things that help bring joy, bring a little
Yeah,
peace, just a little less loneliness. It's not gonna be perfect, but yeah, you got this. We're rooting for you.
we are. Absolutely. I think take care of yourself. If you can get out of the house, get out of the house. If you're like me with your firstborn and that terrifies you, then don't. Don't do it. Stay home.
Just leave and go in your yard.
Yeah, just try to find the small things. Yeah, oh, car seats with Azzy. Oh, I'd rather tear my hair out than put her in a car seat and be in the car alone with her. There was no way. I didn't go anywhere without Tony for the first, like, 6 months.
I get it though. I remember the first time I went to a restaurant and he was like 8 weeks old, maybe even less, and it was awful. I didn't even eat my Easter. It was a whole thing, but we did it. We made it through. So, yeah, if you do feel anxious, we get it if you don't wanna leave. Even if it's like I said, even if it's just taking a couple steps outside of your door to make you feel better. You don't have to leave your property because we get it.
I remember being so impressed with you for leaving the house and just, like, being brave enough to I just remember being like, "You're so brave." And now, like, with the second kid, I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna be leaving the house, like, no big deal."
But it is true. It's like we forget to, like, give ourselves some little snaps for the small things.
Yeah, absolutely, like, you did that. It's like in our last episode, we talked about with Dr. Kim, like, the proud of moments. Like, think about something that you did that day that, like, seemed like looking back on it, I'm sure you're like, "Okay, big deal. I took him out of the house, like, he cried and I was a little stressed, but, like, not that big." But actually, when your mind is, like, so overwhelmed, it's fight or flight mode, and you're literally like I know I was in, like, flight mode for, like, 8 months, like, can't do it.
And I have a lot of, like, social anxiety, so it actually was really hard for me, but I was proud of myself. I was like, "Oh, we're doing this." I also had to because my grandma was in town from, like, a bunch of states away, and I was like, "We're doing this for her," but
Girl, I didn't even think about that part. I was just like, "You got in the car with him?"
Oh my gosh, and that was when he was really little, so I had to take the car seat into the restaurant. Oh my gosh, and then
You
guess what?
stressed.
Their booths weren't big enough, and they put us where I couldn't put him, so he was in his car seat like this, and then he started crying, and I'm, like, trying to it was horrible. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. So, if that's you, just remember it's alright. We're all in it. We're all, doing the
Yeah,
things every once in a while.
you're doing great.
Alright, well, I think that's it for today's episode.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps more moms find the show and lets us know what you want to hear from us.
Mm.
If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with another mom friend or somebody who maybe is thinking about being a mom. So until next time, where I will be reflecting on the final weeks of pregnancy and intentionally slowing down before welcoming our new baby. With that, remember to keep the kids alive, your coffee hot, or at least reheated once. Bye.
Bye.